Hey guys, it's Roxanne. Welcome back to the third episode of Cuts Deep. Today I'm joined by Tia, Carmen, and Key, and we'll be discussing what they have to say about the struggles that young girls and women go through in 2020. So, first of all, I'd like you to tell me a bit about what kind of work you do with young girls and women. So, we'll start with you.
I am a youth engagement advisory group member.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done sexual exploitation classes, and I've also worked with youth offending teams where young women often do crimes and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Carmen?
So I work in the youth offending system, and obviously a majority of people that come through are boys, but we do get a number of girls come through.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm a therapist, and I get a number of young girls coming through, sharing their experiences, and I've also kind of trying to run a consultancy as well, which offers mentoring, coaching.
Oh, nice.
Employability, that kind of thing for young people too.
Okay. Key?
I'm a targeted youth worker for the youth offending team, so I'm more for the prevention team. So I work with young people who are vulnerable to like sexual exploitation and gang association.
Okay, it's all quite similar. Yeah. What's the kind of main struggles that you seem to come across? What are the issues that young girls come to you with mainly? Most common?
I would say relationships and being comfortable in their own skin. Yeah, I think those two are the main two.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, definitely self-image, self-appearance, self-worth, self-esteem. Definitely all those kind of things.
Self-related type things. Key?
Yeah, I agree. Definitely social media and self-image related to that, and definitely relationships as well.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what I did before planning this episode is I asked my Instagram followers and Snapchatters and some girls on YouTube who have commented, who I know watch us, to send in their questions. Because, a lot of the time, young girls who are struggling with things, they're afraid, embarrassed to come forward, and either, they may speak to parents and stuff, but those who genuinely need professional support and professional help, they're very afraid to come forward and ask. So I've got some questions on my phone that some girls have sent through. So I'm going to give you certain scenarios that I've come across. And then I'd just like you to almost give your advice and tell me what you think, and if it's a similar kind of things that your girls have come with. And yeah. So the first one is sort of what you spoke about, which is peer pressure and social media. So this girl said, what do you think are the main... Oh, hold on a minute. What do you think are the main pressures on girls and young women in this day and age? And she said, there is so much pressure on being the baddest bee, but the best wifey at the same time. It's almost impossible to match. How do you find the balance between the two? How do I go about being so popular and living my best life, but also staying respectful to myself and the best girlfriend material without being judged for being up motives all the time?
I feel like personally, you're going to be judged regardless of what you do. So whether you want to go to this party, you want to go and be the baddest beat, you're going to get judged regardless. You can't look for validation in other people. You have to validate yourself. You have to be secure and confident in who you are. As long as you know that what you're doing isn't putting your image or your self-respect down the drain, then girl, do what you got to do in order for you to be the best person and the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I believe, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Echo that for sure. I was thinking with this question, actually, being the baddest bee, being the best girlfriend, this is talking about being something for someone else. And I think, like you say, it's important to be the best for you first, because actually throughout your life, obviously I'm a little bit older than you lot, so I'm kind of got a bit of experience as well. But throughout your life, you're going to be trying to please others, and that's going to be really difficult, because the first thing you have to do is be true to yourself and look at yourself first. Then you can evolve and you can grow and be the best you can be for other people then.
Definitely. I think also, I think there's this this stereotype now because of the music that we listen to, and the new genre of drill and all of this stuff, where you've got these these wifey materials, as she called it, and then also being the baddest bee for your man. I think everything is very much, I want to be this for my man, like you said, or for the society. But until you accept yourself and you find out who you are as a person, as a woman, you can't just allow society and other people to shape you. And I think that's the biggest issue nowadays, especially when it comes to young girls. So yeah, I definitely agree. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think self-respect comes before anything. Do you know what I mean? I think if we're in a situation where we have to adapt to other people, then they will automatically cross the boundaries of not showing that individual respect. So it is very much about being true to yourself.
Definitely.
Then you will naturally pull in people who are happy to show you respect. You shouldn't have to fight for that. And the only way to get that is, like you guys said, like being true to yourself and sticking to your own belief systems and morals and values.
Yeah. I think also, just because you go out there and you live your best life, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a crap girlfriend at home. I think that's also where a lot of people get the idea wrong, where, a good wifey material is a stay at home. You don't go out. All you do is, go work or go to school, come back and read books. That's not necessarily the case. We're talking about young girls here, and the girls that have asked me this sort of question are, between 18 and 25. That's the time where you go out and you live your life. So just because you're going out clubbing with your friends, or you're going on party holidays or whatever it is, that doesn't mean that you then go and disrespect yourself and do God knows what, disrespecting your relationship, whether you are in a relationship or you're afraid that some people might see that you've gone on holiday and all the boys are going to cross you off the list. So I think it's very important that, girls understand that just because you live your best life and you enjoy your teenage years, or, your young adult times, that doesn't mean that you're no longer a good wife and you can't be a good mom and you can't be a good girlfriend. So definitely,
I think that's important as well to think about. Actually, if you are made to feel like that, if someone's saying to you, you're off out and you're doing this that, and the other, or you're clubbing or you're on holidays with the girls, if someone is saying actually that's not okay, then you need to be checking whether or not that's the right person for you, because is that the kind of thing that you want to move forward with in your life?
Exactly.
Or do you want to be going, I need someone that can trust me, that knows that I'm just going out and having fun and I'm with my girlfriends and whatever else, rather than being accused of things, because again, that would really hammer down the self-esteem.
Precisely.
Yeah, I think the key is not being in a situation where you have to feel like you have to change yourself to be accepted, because if you feel like that, then it's already started the process of becoming unhealthy anyway. So, we have to all be aware that there's always going to be a relationship that comes along where that person, including your friends, whatever relationship you're in, that they will accept you for who you are.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay, that's great. So hopefully that answers her question. The next question is actually relating to sexual abuse. So I know you've mentioned that you've worked with sexual exploitation and that kind of stuff. So I did some research and actually found out that 1 in 9 girls and 1 in 5 boys under the age of 18 experience sexual abuse, whether it's at home or in parties or, amongst friends or anything like that. And I don't think a lot of people realize what sexual abuse actually is, because sexual abuse isn't just rape, is it? There's a lot more to it. So this girl said, so I'm looking down on my phone because that's where the questions are. So she said, my parents are very religious, and topics like this are almost forbidden in our household. How can I go about this without causing World War III at home? I love partying, going out and meeting new people. Often when I go out, me and my girls are always around boys, alcohol, drugs. That doesn't mean I do it. But I always end up staying at people's houses or going back to you guys' houses. There's been a couple of times where I have been touched inappropriately, and I've even had sex whilst I was drunk with a guy against my will. I was saying no, but because I was so drunk and I didn't have the energy to push him off, he still went ahead and did it. He didn't take my no seriously. Is that sexual abuse? Should I have reported it? Is it too late now? Is it my fault because I put myself in that situation by getting so drunk where I can't walk away? What do you think?
I think that one is a really tough one. That really hits home for me. Yes, I think it's even more than sexual abuse. I think that's rape. And I definitely think it should be reported if she feels like she needs to report it. And I think because when people are out at parties and they're with their friends and everyone's having fun and there's drink and there's drugs, whatever else, there's this whole thing of going, well, actually, I can't say anything because I was under the influence. That was my fault. And actually, it isn't.
Yeah.
It isn't. And I think that's where education, I think that's where kind of work that we do really has to play a massive part, to be able to empower young women to say no and stand by the decision if it still continues, actually to be strong enough to go and report it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this stuff happens like this and it's not reported.
Yeah.
You know, and then these girls are sitting there with all of this stuff just kind of going, you know, and then is it something that plays out in their lives and they become promiscuous or they become, you know, more recluse, they don't want to have relationships, and it becomes really damaging. So absolutely 100% yes, I would, you know, report it. With the family situation, with the religion thing, that's really tough. And what I would say is, you know, it's not about probably going home to your family, because if it's a religious family that is set in their ways in that way, perhaps expand your network of people that you've got around you, aunties or cousins or friends that you can speak to that can share these things with you, rather than you have to go home and tell your parents, oh, this is what I'm doing, by the way, and it all kicks off at home. Don't do that if that's going to not, you know, make it a good environment for you.
The fact that she even said no whilst she was under the influence and he didn't take her no seriously, that just goes to show that regardless of whatever she said, he wanted to do what he wanted to do and get what he wanted. But I feel like, as you said, that is rape beyond rape, because you did say no. Regardless of whether you was under the influence, you still had the courage and strength enough for you to say no.
You're awake, and definitely. I think, you know, that happens a lot where, and you know, I don't know if you have, but I've definitely experienced it where, you know, I've gone out clubbing or to a party with my girls, and I've always been a little chicken when it came to, you know, going to after parties and whatnot. I used to go to one location, I wanted to go home, but there has been times where, you know, we've gone back to an after party and it was just, you know, a boy's house with a couple of friends or whatever, and there was situations where, you know, one friend was up for whatever, and then the rest of the boys' friends just thought, well, if she is, then the rest might have, you know, they must be as well. So I've definitely come across situations where, you know, I've been touched or whatever, but I think I was quite firm to be like, no, and I'm more than happy to leave my friends behind and walk out if I feel in danger or uncomfortable and my friends don't want to come with me. But, you know, I think in the previous episode, we also spoke about, you know, going out, having enough money to be able to get yourself home and walk out of that situation, not having to depend on your friends, because then you have to follow wherever they go and that kind of stuff. So I think that also plays a part. But with this question, I would definitely say yes, you should report it if you are watching this, no matter where, you know, when it happened, because that is rape. If, you know, whether you were conscious, unconscious, you said no.
Sorry, I just want to touch up on a few points on here because it's such a big, broad subject, but there's no such thing as is it too late to report anything. So that's just one of the biggest things I want to get out of there. You know, it doesn't matter how long, the time period doesn't matter. Even if you don't want to report it but have got an adult that you can confide in to talk about it, just so you're not keeping that to yourself, is so important. And that adult might be able to provide that guidance and that support that young people might need. And also, you know, going to the doctors and trying to seek counselling, it's very confidential. You know, outsiders don't have to know about this. So it's about being aware that there is support out there. In regards to religion, I feel quite passionate about this because I come across this a lot in my line of work where sexual abuse takes place and it's very much either buried in families or etc. because of religion, when in fact my personal opinion is it has to be set aside in these subjects. It's not about religion. It's not about the fact that it's a sinful act. That's regardless, it's there. It's about you know, I come across a lot of young people who don't know what the word consent
Means.
what that means. And you know, it's at any point you have the right to say no. And if that person's still pursuing, then they're in the wrong. And yeah, literally like find support, and it can be kept confidential, and it's not about religion, it's genuinely about that this act has happened and it's a wrong act, and you should be able to talk to your parents about it. And I'd encourage parents to put aside religion and have that open communication with their children, because in the outside world these things are happening. We as parents are very much limited in what our children get up to outside. So it's better that we have that open conversation and relationship with our children, so they're open to trust us to tell us these things.
Because that's where you found out from, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I mean, what is, you as professionals, you must come across that quite a lot. What is, apart from the fact that, you should be able to speak to your parents and seek counseling, because I think that's the issue, because it is such a touchy topic and it's embarrassing, it's humiliating, it's embarrassing for girls. What is one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who doesn't want to seek support, or doesn't want to take it further, or doesn't want to report it? How do you think you would advise somebody to deal with that kind of stuff? If they can't speak to someone, if they don't want to speak to someone, what do you think is another way of kind of maybe having that weight lifted off your shoulders, or, not putting themselves in that situation again? What do you think is best to do in that kind of situation?
I feel like being careful of your surroundings, or if you want to go out and party and get drunk, don't get drunk to the point of you not having strength. Make sure that you're still at that point where you know what's happening, you know how to handle yourself, you're not staggering left, right, and center. Just make sure that you're having fun, but having fun consciously, having fun, not having fun absent-mindedly and going loose and getting all wild and stuff. In regards to like not wanting to speak to anybody, if you don't want to speak, maybe write things down in a diary or a journal, just to make sure that it's getting out some way, just not keeping it in. Because if you keep it in, things, then you're going to keep in loads more things that you don't want to talk about, and you're going to eventually explode, and we don't want that at all.
Yeah.
So just write things down if that helps.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I think, obviously, being a therapist, so I'd be like, talk about it. It's important to talk about it. If there is anybody, you might not want to report it, that's fine. But if there is anyone you trust enough to share that with, then share that, because what it will do, it will eat away, and it will become something quite toxic within you. And again, obviously, I've said it before, I'm a little bit older than you guys, so I'm looking from, historic. So, because this conversation is age old. I was having a conversation when I was in my teens, and it's kind of followed through the generations. This is age old. Nothing has changed. It doesn't feel like anything has changed. There's more education out there, and it's about empowering yourself to be able to say no, to understand what is consent and how far does consent go. Is it right at the very beginning? Is it during? Is it like, what does that mean? Really educate yourself on what that means, and actually what feels comfortable to you. Don't try and get kind of waylaid with your friends. Like you said, Rox, about, if you're out, have emergency money. Don't rely on anybody. So you can get yourself home, whatever the situation. You can get yourself home. Make sure you've got bars on your phone. Make sure all of those things to ensure that you are protected. There is this thing about being a good friend. I've got to stay with my friend. You stay with your friend. What's going to happen to you? In the same way, like you've just explained. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you want to put yourself in that situation, there's a choice you're making. Then you have to deal with the aftermath of that. So think about the aftermath first. Yeah. What is going to happen if I'm in a bad situation? Definitely. Or how can I get my way out of this? Know your surroundings, know where you are. I think it's really important to do that, because actually it's those kind of things that will keep you safer. And I say safer, not safe, because, obviously sometimes things happen, but safer. But yeah, definitely I would say if you can share. But I think you're right. If not, then just get it out some other way, dancing, write it down, whatever feels comfortable to you, to just express that and share, get it out of your body is what you need to do.
Definitely. Key ideas.
I'd say it's okay not to talk to anybody about it, but please don't blame yourself for what's happened, because it's not your fault. And, I think what you guys said, it is about being sensible when you go out, and, we have bad experience, but we have to use that as a way of learning so we can move forward. And sometimes we want to go out to have fun, but then when it crosses that line, we don't have that motive anymore. Your motive was to go and have fun,
Mhm.
but now the fun don't exist. Do you know what I mean? So it is very much about having fun. It's okay to have fun, just be sensible with that fun, because if you're not sensible, it just becomes not fun anymore. And also, you know, like what you said, write things down if you don't want to speak to people. But then also there's plenty of books out there that will help to empower young people. Read, you know, use your spare time to educate yourself about these things and signs and red flags that you might see when you're building relationships out there. I know when I come out from a really bad relationship, I read a book called Don't Forget Your Crown. Don't know if you guys have heard of it before. It's from Derek Janks. And I really found that book so helpful because it is all about getting in relationships with different personalities, different type of men, and it does help you to open your mind out about what's out there. So yeah, definitely read.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to post a few links down in the description below for any kind of sexual support. There's a lot of campaigns out there. There's a lot of blogs, YouTubers who speak about this stuff. There's a lot of, you know, confidential counselors who do kind of online help. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to show your face. You can just message them anonymously. You don't even have to log in or anything like that. So any kind of support that you are looking for and you are afraid to speak out, then definitely check out the links in the description below. Okay, I agree with everything. I think we've covered most topics. You know, this question was very focused on going out and partying and having fun with your friends. Obviously, there's a lot of sexual abuse that goes on in families, that goes on buses. One of our crew members actually posted a question not long ago on Instagram asking, when is the first time that you, asking women and girls, when is the first time that you were any kind of, you know, sexually assaulted or sexually offended or even, you know, sexually verbally, you know, assaulted. And some of the answers were, you know, 11, 12. That's not when you go to parties. That's 9 times out of 10, it's family or your, you know, close surrounding base. So I think there's a lot of that goes out, that goes on out there. But I do think that the advice that you've given also relates to those scenarios. So it's not just party and having fun and 18 plus based. Anyone, you know, support for everybody out there. Right. Okay. So the next question is a little bit different. It's based on illegal activity. So what I wanted to ask you is, why do you think that young girls, and when I say young, I mean 13 to about 18, why do you think they're so easily influenced into illegal activity, especially when it comes to friendships and relationships? Why do you think that happens? And a lot of it happens in London.
I feel that ties into the first question of being a bad bee and being a good wifey or a good girlfriend. I feel like because majority of the times, young girls around those ages, they're kind of new to relationships or new to certain friendships, especially with males. And it's a thing where, like, if someone says, oh, can you hold this for me or can you do this for me, it's more of like, oh, if I do this, then they're going to think of me like this, or if I do that, they're going to think of me like that. So I feel like it's more you're validating yourself or finding validation in that person, or this is going to help me look like this in this person's eyes, when really and truly that's not the case, because you're going to get in trouble some way down the line. You're going to get in trouble for holding this or for doing certain things, and the person's only doing it, only asking you so that it takes the heat off of them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's a tough one, because I sit there and I think, well, developmentally, these children are still so very young and they've still got so much development to do. But actually, I think there's also something here around what they see and what they're accessible to. You know, thinking about social media, you can come home from your school day, from being out with your friends or whatever you do, go upstairs to your room and you're still so connected to everything out there in the world. And I think, you know, unless parents are on the ball with filtering and, you know, kind of monitoring, young children are exposed to so very much. And I think there's so much that's been desensitized now because there is so much. So it's kind of like, oh, that's, you know, things that maybe my parents have gone, oh my goodness, you know, when I was younger, is not even a problem now. You know, when children my age then are now seeing these things, but actually they're exposed to so much, and there is a desensitization around it, and there's also this expectation of being. So like you say, actually kind of, if I'm running around, then you're going to look at me like, I'm loyal, I can grow within this situation that I'm in, people will respect me more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it goes back to what we said very early on, is actually it's about self-respect first, but that's got to be taught from a very young age, because like you say, these children, and they are young children, are getting involved with criminal activity from a very young age, and it's becoming more and more normal, and it isn't normal, because ultimately they are going to get into trouble. There are going to be some kind of consequences to this.
Definitely. I think it's important to also realize that, once you're in it, it's very, very hard to get out. And it's so easy to fall into it. And, again, I've been in those situations where, like you said, I did certain things for validation because, I had friends who were well known in the area for drug dealing or for fraud or whatever it is that they were doing. And I felt important being around them, giving them a little bit of responsibility in whatever it is that they do. And women kind of feel like, yeah, he trusts me, or they trust me, whether it's friends or boyfriend or whoever it is. And I think that's our main problem, that we don't realize that we're just being used to do the dirty work.
You'll hear those people laugh and go, oh, wow, look at her, she's doing this, that, and the other. I remember, like you, I used to get into quite a lot of criminal activity. Be careful what I say here. But actually, I remember the people I was running with, it was very much like, oh, look at her, she's so cool. Cool as a cucumber, I would kind of, one incident, breaking into a car. And it was like, I did that. That was one of the first things I did. And they praised me for how cool I was about it and how it didn't seem to affect me. Inside, I was absolutely crapping myself.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to let them see that, because then they might have rejected me.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And
you're not as cool as you seem you are.
Exactly. So actually the cooler I was looking at, it doesn't bother me. But inside I was like, oh my God. And then going home and pretending like everything, like I'd had a nice afternoon or a nice evening with my friends. Do you know what I mean? Like there was nothing, my parents didn't have a clue.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. I think we forget a lot of the time that, we do have parents and we do have brothers and sisters and families that we are putting at danger when we do this stuff. Because if things go tits up, it's not just us it's going to come back to. If we lose money, if we get caught, if I get caught, I'm snitching. I will sing like a bird. I'm sorry. If I get caught, I am not going to jail for no. I'm not. As cool as I might be out there, I am snitching. And I've always said this to all my friends, don't involve me, and don't, because I will tell. I'm not my dad. If my dad or my mom found out that I was involved in anything that I was involved with, my goodness gracious, I think I'd be more scared of my parents than I would be of the police. I'd rather go to jail. So I think it's, it's important that we realise that we're not just putting ourselves at risk, we're also putting our families at risk and making our parents look bad, because some of the things that I did, I wasn't, crazy out there, but some of the things I did, I shouldn't have done. And, some people might look at me and think, oh, her parents don't care. My parents were so tough with me. But my actions didn't show that, because I think in London as well, it's so hard for parents to have any kind of control. It's a concrete jungle. It's a big city. You go to colleges, you go to schools, you mix with so many different people. It's hard for parents to know every single friend, like you do in, little villages and, people know each other's kids and, parents of kids and friends and whatnot. In London, that doesn't happen. I think that's why also it's so hard to have that kind of control over your kids. I don't have kids, but I've seen it. And, working with you as well before, some of the kids that we've come across, they've had some of the, real good parents, great households, lovely families. But some of the things they did, you just would never think that that's where it came from. And, like I said, you just have to be very, very careful. And you've got to remember, you will get caught. You'll slip up yourself because of pressure, or, it will always come back to you. Always comes back.
I think at the age of, what was the age bracket again?
13 to 18.
Yeah, I think during that time, obviously you're at your adolescent stage. So it's very much naturally about finding your identity, which is very a confusing stage. It's all about, finding somewhere where you can feel the sense of belonging. I think it's so easy to find yourself in situations that are unhealthy, because it is very much about, I'll go into this group because I feel like I belong there, and it feeds me that natural development stage that I'm urging for. And a lot of the times as well, you know, statistics are getting higher and higher with families that are a single parent household, and you know that doesn't help the situation. But I think it is because in my line of work, there's a lot of it is due to family breakdown, and because they don't feel wanted at home or loved at home, you go look for it outside, and especially when you're naturally at that age where you want to feel loved, you want to feel like you belong somewhere. So I think, you know, it's very important that we, you know, it's normal to go through that stage. It's normal that you're finding out where you want to belong, but don't settle for the only option that's there, you know, because sometimes, often, whatever situation comes along, if you have to question it, it's an unhealthy place for you to be in. If it's healthy, you wouldn't question it. You would naturally feel the sense of belonging and safety and loved and cared for. And
definitely.
do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you, whilst we're on this topic, you know, based on the kind of work that you do, obviously you all have some sort of legal colleagues, or if you know, if you work in a system yourself, what are some of the consequences? Because I think a lot of the time the perception is that females get less time, or females get better treatment for certain legal activities or certain crimes committed, and that's why, you know, that's the reasoning behind why certain boys or certain men use females, especially at that young age. Oh, you're just a child and you're a girl, they won't do nothing to you, it's okay. Can you just make it very, very clear on what the consequences are? You know, how serious are they if a 16-year-old girl gets caught with a knife for drugs?
I think from what I've seen personally, it's no different to when boys get caught. I think what happens is, as an officer, you recruit all of the information that you can possibly gather, and when decisions are made for the young person, it, you know, all of these circumstances are taken into consideration. Doesn't mean to say it's going to be any less of a punishment, but they're all taken into consideration. You know, I mean, with knife laws, I believe knife laws, you know, there's no kind of two ways about it. You get caught with a knife, you're going to get a referral order straight away if you're under 18. You know, there's no two ways about that. Girl, boy, black, white, it doesn't matter. Is what they say is it happens within the court system. So definitely.
I think the consequences of it is, obviously, you're going to get a criminal record. There's potential that you can go to prison for it, even if it's the first time. And also, if a lot of young people that I work with, they often ask the question of, well, I didn't carry the knife, but the people that I was with were, so I'm not going to get in trouble for it. But there is an association. If you're around those people, you still can. There is a consequences of having a criminal record and going to prison. But then also, when you're at the age of 16, there's a lot of young people who don't know what they want to do in their later life, what course they want to do at college, whether they want to go to college and stuff. And, you know, if you put yourself in a place where you can get a criminal record, depending on what you want to do at college, it doesn't matter what you want to do. It's going to impact your future. It's going to be a huge barrier to you getting that entry to whatever course you want to do. That's like the main consequences, I'd say.
I think it's important as well, that point, actually, because young people don't realize that criminal record has such a massive impact. And, you know, some people think, oh, if I get to 18 I'll get cleared, but actually that's not the case. It depends on the seriousness of the crime. But 9 times out of 10, it stays in some sort of history. And, you know, a lot of, like you said, a lot of young people at that age don't know what they want to do in the future. And if at 16 you commit that crime because you want to be the best, you know, wifey material or the baddest B for somebody, and then at 18 you're like, actually, I want to be a social worker, you ain't going nowhere.
No. And also, you know, there is it still called DBS, or is it called, when you go to apply for a job, you will be DBS checked. And a lot of young people don't know this as well. And that is to check whether you've got any criminal record. And even if you've got a caution, it will come up. So it's better to just, if you can avoid it, because you're only going to prolong you getting the rest of the goals that you want to reach in your life. So
definitely. And also, you know, what does that person actually do for you? What are they going to do? Would they do the same for you? Would they put themselves at the same kind of, you know, danger and pressure and you know, in that circumstance, in that situation? Because a lot of the time that is not the case. You know, women are, I think, naturally, women are very, caring, and we want to make, do the best and do the most for everybody that's around us, especially when it comes to, the boyfriends. And like you said, you're new to the whole relationship thing. And so you want to create this status for yourself that you are this best wifey material. But a lot of the time you are literally just being used, even if you get the flowers and, the best restaurants and the best kind of treatment and promises and rings and God knows what else. It's that's how they pay you for doing what you're doing, basically. And I think a lot of girls are a little bit
naive,
oblivious, and I think naive is the good word. But I think sometimes I chose to be naive because I knew that what I was doing was wrong, and actually I knew if I was to get caught, this person would turn around and say, I don't know her.
I'm glad that you mentioned what you did, because I want to touch up on the word grooming, because if you're being asked to carry something or hold someone's drugs or whatever, you are being groomed into doing that, because it's a wrong act, it's illegal, and you shouldn't be asked to do that in the first place. So one way or another, there has been a grooming stage that's taken place. So I really hope that young people do their research around grooming, because a lot of the times these processes naturally take place on the streets, but it's very hard to label that process, and that process is called grooming. So please, encourage young people to read up about it. It's so important, and it does happen in a very quick way and subtle way, and in a very manipulating, clever way, because that is the whole point of it, is to succeed using manipulation.
I feel like in those situations also, I feel like people don't think of the pros and cons of the situation, because you're doing it for the here and the now. You're not thinking about what's going to happen after, or what's going to happen if I get caught, or you're just thinking about now. Like, okay, cool, there may not be any consequences, you now holding it, but that doesn't mean there won't be a consequence in the future. Yeah. You have to think about how this is going to benefit you, or how this is going to destroy you as a person. I feel like in regards to majority of these situations, you need to think of, is this going to add to me, or is this going to take away from me? Is this going to help me benefit to where I'm going in the future, or is this going to take away or potentially just not give me a future at all? I feel like females especially need to have that kind of thought process in order to better the kind of
decision making.
Yeah, exactly that.
Definitely. I think it's sad, I think and it scares me, because I know, Carmen, you've got daughters. I don't know if you have children, but it just makes me think, like, in the future, it's so bad now.
I'm like, that is unacceptable. Like, what on earth do you think? Why do you think it's okay just to send a picture of your penis? Why do you think it's okay to send these pictures to my child? So as a parent, I'm going, that's my child. But actually, I'm saying to her, you have to block these people, or
no, that's wrong.
No, that's wrong. And she does. But I just think, because these things can come through quite consistently, and it, again, going back to being desensitized, there's this thing of kind of, is she desensitized to it, so therefore it's not a problem? But I'm looking at it going, that's horrendous.
Yeah.
Get it off your phone. Do you know, that kind of thing? Or even the way that people speak to her, you're so, she has these, lovely hair and so lovely and things like that. And these guys are like, you look so nice. And it's just the way, it's the language they use. And I'm like, I can see what's happening here. They are trying to bring you in to be able to exploit you, to groom you in that way. She's not silly, so I'm not too worried in that sense. Like, she's kind of got it together, my eldest. But it doesn't make it any easier as a parent to see that these people are kind of worming their way in onto her into her life, into her bedroom. Do you know, that kind of thing? She's sitting there and she's on the phone, and I'm like, oh my God, who's talking to? Who is it? Because I worry now, because I've seen what comes through on her phone. But for her, she's like, Mum, I get it all the time. And I'm like, you shouldn't have to get it all the time.
Yeah. Especially like you work in a field that you do, you kind of see it with all the other girls and what they do, and you think of your sisters and your cousins, and all the little girls and young girls that you care about, and you kind of think, my God, are my people going through the same thing? Is my daughter? Definitely.
It doesn't matter if that person's the same age as you. If they're sending you inappropriate pictures, it's actually illegal. And a lot of the times, young people are not aware of this. Even if you open it, it's illegal. If you go ahead to share it, it's illegal. Then you become responsible now. So I just wanted to quickly add that.
Yeah, I think, definitely, it's not just carrying knives and being involved in drugs and stealing and whatnot. It is also and that kind of links with the previous question we had with the sexual exploitation, all that kind of stuff. All of that stuff is illegal. And they say it's monitored, whether it is or not, you don't actually know. But it is illegal, and especially sharing, that's a crime, and you can go to jail for that. So especially if somebody's under the age of 18. So definitely. Right, that brings me on to my next question. This is still relating to the topic, but I just thought this question was quite good, so I wanted to ask. For a girl who lives in the hood, you need to be respected. You need to be involved with the respected, which 9 times out of 10 ends up being the gang members, the drug dealers, and God knows what else. That usually turns into friends, boyfriends who ask you to do things for them, etc. What do you do to not fall into that environment but still be the cool and respected and popular one? So basically what you've just said, but how would you advise somebody to go about that situation if that's your environment and you do live in the hood and you grow up around those kind of people, and it's kind of hard to stay away because that's who you see, when you go to school, when you come back from school, when you go to work, when you go to the shop and whatever. How do you still stay the cool and popular one and okay with the kids that do the illegal stuff without doing the illegal stuff?
I would ask, what does being respected mean to you? What does that look like to you? That's the question that I would ask, because actually I was the same when I was a teenager. I was quite horrible actually to lots of people, like my peers. If you looked at me in the wrong way, I'd punch you in the face. Like, I was horrible. And
I'd never say it, Carmen. I'd never say
it. You being sarcastic. But it was, and I feel, and actually when I think about that now, it hurts me because I'm like, I was so vile. And if I ever meet anyone from my past, I'm like, you know what, I'm sorry I was such a dick, because I was. But actually, what is your definition of respect? Because I was running around kind of going, well, because I used to be bullied. I was bullied in primary school really quite badly. So I was like, I'm never going to be bullied again. And that's going to be it. So I turned really quite nasty. And now it's kind of like, what does that mean? I'd spent my year 10 and year 11 by myself because I made a decision to step away from this kind of people and be like, I've got to kind of, and that meant I had nobody. And I had nobody, like everyone turned their back on me because I made that decision. And I was like, I was actually okay with that. It was very lonely, but I was okay with that. And I wasn't looking to stay in school anyway. I was going to college. But I had to be okay with that because the alternative was to continue like this. And actually what was happening is it wasn't making me feel very nice. I felt horrible within myself. Every act that I did, everything that I said, the way I behaved, even how my parents, were kind of being called up from the school and things like that. Actually, it made me feel like crap. And I was like, I have to step away from this because otherwise it's going to be too late. And I could see very quickly that I was kind of going down this road that was not going to be able to come back from very quickly, if at all. And so I made a decision to step away from it and found respect in other ways. And it started with me. And it's taken a long time. I've got children and everything now, and I'm still working on self-respect, and I'm still working on what that looks like for me because it's ever-changing, because we are ever-changing people, and so from that age, I was like, no, I couldn't. My sanity was more to me than the respect on the streets. Yeah. And I had to step away from it. I still lived in the same area, and I still lived not far from the same area. But I stepped away from it. I had to.
Yeah. And it's not going to be the same kind of respect that you then receive when you do eventually leave the hood and you do progress onto college and university and work. And when you then get the real disrespect, I've always envied, talking about females, the girls that were so cool with everybody, but they were such nerds at the same time. And I say nerds because that's what they were seen as in the hood, but they were the cool nerds. It was, they'd come on the block or they'd come onto the estate. Hi, how's your day been? Yeah, it's been fine. Yeah, I'm going to do my homework. And the because of how they were from the beginning, and because how they introduced themselves as, and how they projected themselves as women and girls, people were kind of like, nah, she won't be interested anyway. Once you show that bit of vulnerability and that little bit of interest, and she might be interested, we just need to speak to her the right way, or we need to show her the good side of things, that's when you kind of start falling into it, and people see, they get interested, and they're like, oh, maybe we can kind of, spin her around and shape her into what we want her to be. So I think from the beginning, and it's hard because especially as kids and women growing up, like you said, that's when you shape yourself, that's when you realize who you want to be, or you're trying to work it out. Like you said, it's an ongoing process throughout your whole life. You always change, but especially at that age, you're trying to find yourself and find the crew that you want to be seen with and be around. But from the beginning, I think you have to be very, very firm with, we can be friends, but I'm not interested. I'm not involved. We can have a chat. If you see me, whatever, we could even go to the same parties. But as soon as you start moving illegal and sideways, I'm not involved. I don't want to know, and I'm going home. And some people are seen doing that, and they're like, okay, that's just her. And some people are seen doing it, and like, she's a snake. She left us, or she's so it's definitely a very, very difficult situation to be in. But I think from the beginning, you have to be very, very firm and say, look, we're cool, but I'm not interested in doing that kind of stuff, and stick to it. Don't say I'm not interested, but you want to be nice friend and you want to be wifey material. So sometimes you might hold something, or sometimes you might help in doing something or whatever. No is no. And that again brings us back to the previous question. Yeah. When you say no, it's no. There's no pushing.
I think what you were just touching on, that is respect, because you respect yourself enough not to put yourself in those situations. That is the respect. Like, okay, cool, I can have friends that are or associates that are associated to illegal things, but I don't have to do that because I respect myself enough not to know the consequences of what they're doing and then go and do it and look like an idiot. No.
Yeah.
Respect is you, okay, cool, this person does this, okay, cool, we can be cool, but as soon as things go sideways, I'm gone out the door. Bye-bye.
And you can't hold it against me type of thing.
100%.
I think that's when you do get respect, though, because you find that a lot of gang members, like, they, often they're in that situation because they feel like it's the only choice they have. So when they do see people who've grown up in their community and their environment, they're doing well for themselves, they will give you that respect because you've chose a different life to what they're living. And also, when you're in that kind of environment, it's respect doesn't come from fearing. I find that, like, even with the scenario that you were saying, you probably, when you was younger, you was probably in a situation where people feared you. So you probably thought that was what respect is. And it's not. They were scared of you.
Yeah.
And that could be a quite lonely place for that person who's actually being feared from everybody else because no one wants to be your friend.
They just are because they're scared of you. Sorry, Carmen.
They're going to just be like, oh, you said a joke, I have to force myself to laugh even though I don't find it funny, but I'm scared of you. Do you know what I mean? So it's not about respect. If you're in a place where you're scared of that person, they put fear in you, it's not respect. Be around people who you're comfortable with. That's where you get respect, when you feel like you can be who you are.
And I think that also comes down to, and a lot of people that I've said it to, and a lot of them are my actual friends, and no one likes to hear this, but 80% of them are sheep. And the only reason they are so respected, or they are so on job, as they say, and they do all the illegal stuff and they get themselves involved in all the stuff that they do, is because they feel the pressure. And they've created this image by being associated with certain people that they now have to follow through, because if they don't, probably won't end very well for them, whether it's violence, whether it's being disrespected by everybody for the rest of, the time they are involved. So I think, being a sheep or being a follower is definitely not going to get you respect. Maybe fear, like you said, because you are around the people that you are, or you do the things that you do. But it's not going to get you respect. It's the opposite. It's the person that can say, I'm not a sheep, I'm not involved, I'm not doing the things that you are doing. And the person that can walk away and say, when things get cracking, I'm going home. I think that's, like you said, that's the people that get respect.
But
because
don't be a sheep, be a lion or a lioness. Like, do your own thing. And then you'll just have people just wanting to connect with you anyway. You shouldn't have to beg for people to stay in your life. Do you know what I mean? You shouldn't have to force somebody to be in your life either.
Exactly. Definitely. Right, let's have a look. I think this is the last question. And this is something that I always struggle to answer or struggle to advise on because, growing up, I never really had that kind of support myself. So this is actually relating to financial issues. And this question, there was a lot of questions on this and I couldn't really put them all together. I didn't want to ask a massive questions. So I kind of wanted to put it in my own words. So a lot of females have asked me, when it comes to money, what would you say are the steps to take to then be able to become young, successful women?
I think if you have a business idea, or if you even want to do hair or lashes, nails, and I know that there's a lot of girls doing it at the moment, but what you have, they can't bring to the table, because at the end of the day, okay, cool, they've got good ideas, but the ideas that you have, they're probably not doing. If anything, look at what they're doing, and if they're doing something that you necessarily wouldn't do because it's not going to help bring in customers or help you build your brand or your business, take that as a learning curve and put it into something that you want to do. If you want to do hair, go and do hair. There's many hairstylists and stuff like that, but what they have or what they do, you can do it 10 times better because you've got something else to offer. Don't ever think that because somebody's doing this already, oh no, I can't do it. You can do it, and you can do it way better than they are doing it now. Just have that mentality for anything you want to do, and you'll definitely reach far. In terms of like financial support, I would say your friends, your family members, they can help advise you on how to kind of start those businesses. Even if, just Google it, like how do I start my own business? I'm pretty sure on like some of the bank websites they have like, oh, you can start up a business account, or you can do this or save for this, like cash ISAs and stuff like that. I know that they were doing a scheme for mortgages and stuff for young people. So just being more financially aware of everything that's happening around you, and you'll definitely make it far in life. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree too. Yeah, that's it. No, I do agree, because actually what I would say as well is know your worth. If you have an idea, because again, we're talking about young women here. So like you were saying, you don't know necessarily what you want to do. If you have an idea, then jot that idea down and write down your qualities, and what you can bring to the table. What is it about you that's going to make this different to everybody else? What's going to put you above the rest? Well, you're unique. That's the first thing. So you are you. There's not another you. And so that's what you've got. Think about your attributes. What is it about you that's going to be different to all the other, Instagram pages with the nails on it, or the Instagram pages with the makeup, or this, that, and the other? What's different with you? And persevere. Know your worth. Persevere. Don't kind of be allow yourself to be put down by critics, or people say to you, oh, that won't work. There's too many of them. That won't work, because there's too many people that would put you down. So it's about kind of just knowing your worth and sticking with that and going, actually, this is what I need to be doing, and have a goal, have a focus. What is your end goal ultimately? Whether you do an Instagram page for nails, whether you do something else, what is your end goal? Like, what do you want to achieve at the end of it all? And then work towards that, because it's going to be, it's never going to be a straight road. It's going to be zigzag. So you've got to be able to maneuver with that. So just know and have your end goal in focus at all times.
Definitely.
I'd say have a career to focus on, like you said, have a goal, but also have that vision to reach your goal. And I use this tool where it's called a vision board. So I've like printed out pictures of certain things that I want to achieve in my life, and I stuck it on a board, so it's right there. As soon as I wake up, it's the first thing I see, and I can't explain how much it motivates me every day. So I'd strongly advise young people to do that, because that's the best way of speaking your future reality into existence. It's going to give you the motivation that you need. It's going to give you the courage. It's going to make you so determined. And don't chase quick money, because when you chase quick money, what you might not always see is that you might be, you know, having a lot of money for 3 months and the next 3 months you're broke. Like, not only that it's going to have other consequences, but you don't get stability. If you want to have good financial situation, it comes with stability, and stability comes with staying on the right path, chasing a career, creating yourself a vision that is going to keep you stable in the long run.
Definitely. I think also, you know, don't be put off about the whole age thing, because it's never too early or too late to start something. And I can only base this on myself and this show, really, because I've, from the age of probably about 15, 16, I've always wanted to do something for young people. And there was so many different ideas. I created this name, and I was going into schools and doing speeches, and then, you know, but all of that is already out there. There's so many public speakers that are so motivational, and, you know, they give amazing advice, and their stories are great. And I was one of those people where I was like, yeah, I could do that better, but I want to do something of my own. And so I think it takes a lot of research, market research, what's already out there, what's missing, what's not there, what could you do different? Like you said, you could always add something new to the table. You know, everybody's different, like you said, Carmen. Everyone's got different qualities and stuff. So I think always, you know, don't be put off by the age thing. Don't be put off by the fact that there's already things out there, because there always will be. Everyone has ideas. Everyone wants to do things. Everybody wants to achieve. But definitely do your research. There's a lot of things out there, and there's a lot of services that give guidance and advice. So I also put some links down for that in the description below, in the subscription box below. But I think it's the fear that holds people back, because it's taken me about 8 years to actually come up and do something, even though I've had this idea and I've had these plans and meetings with all these people, when, you know, but I think it's the fear of starting something. I think don't be scared of failure, as easy as it is to say. You know, you won't know until you try. And it takes a lot of time. You're not going to, if it's some sort of like a project or something, you're not going to start making money straight away. It takes a lot of time. You're probably going to have to invest money into it before you start getting things back. But like I said, it's best to say, you know, it didn't work. Oh, well, rather than what if I did it? But there's definitely sites and, you know, services and programs that help people, that are willing to give people money, especially young people, to start their own thing. You just obviously have to have a plan and an idea. You can't just go and say, give me some money. Do you know what I mean? You have to be able to present something. So I think, you know, don't be afraid. I've emailed hundreds of people the same email. I've copied over a long, lengthy email to say, you know, what I wanted to do. Some people got back to me. Some people didn't. Some people say it would work. Some people said it wouldn't. Some people said it's stupid. But you always get that. You'll always get people that will tell you it's not going to work, it's not worth it, blah, 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 blah. You just have to go and do it, because when it does, then you've accomplished and you've succeeded. So I definitely agree. In regards to what we've spoken about today in general, is there anything that's kind of sitting in your head that you wanted to get off your chest, or anything that you always say to the young girls that you work with, or any kind of main advice that you'd like to give to anybody that's watching that is struggling, that's come across any of these issues, that you would say is like the most important thing?
Be yourself. Don't seek validation in nobody, because at the end of the day, you was born alone, you'll die alone. You have to make certain choices by yourself. You'd rather do that and then be respected for who you are, rather than for what you can offer other people.
Definitely.
Yeah, I would say surround yourself with people that will uplift you. Okay, because there's enough people around there that will try and bring you down. So surround yourself with people that will uplift you, that want the best for you, not want to look at you grow and then try and drag you down. Just always on your case with you, share your motivation with you. Is what I would say. And also, one of the things I often say to young people is, whatever you're going through right now, it will pass. Like, nothing lasts forever. This will not last forever. This will pass. So stick in there. So if you're feeling down, if you're feeling low, this will pass. Just stick in there. You're stronger than you think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. You know, get to know yourself, because that journey is fun, and it's, you know, it's very, it's growth, and it's, you learn a lot when you try and learn yourself. And that's the best part for me, I think. Like, I tend to say that to young people a lot. And, you know, on the other side of fear is the best things. Sometimes we have to keep pushing ourselves. If you become fearful, don't stop. Keep going. Do you know what I mean? Try and see what's on the other side of that. But, you know, definitely get to know yourself. Don't focus on other people. It's very much about loving yourself and empowering yourself.
Definitely. One thing that I would say is probably, as difficult and scary as it is to speak out on problems, and you know, it makes you feel vulnerable and embarrassed and whatever, I think it's very, very important to speak, whether it is a professional, a family member, a friend. You know, like I said, there's a lot of services out there that you can, you know, speak to confidentially.
Yeah.
Confidentially. Or, you know, you don't, like I said, you don't have to log in, your details don't have to be on there. I will try and put as many links at the bottom to help as many people. But I think it's very important to speak out and not hold it in, because once everything builds up, it could lead to even suicide. And, you know, I've seen people who have taken their own lives, and a conversation is all they needed. So I think, you know, everybody's scared of being judged, but at the same time, you need to give people a chance to help. And seeking for help is half of the problem already resolved, basically. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, my Instagram is always on there. If you want to speak to me, more than welcome to message me. The girls' social medias will be on there as well. They've obviously got a lot of experience and qualifications, so they can always help. So, yeah, you're willing to help our viewers. Yeah. And like I said, there's so many other services that I'll link down in the description below. Anything else you want to say? No. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experiences and your knowledge and your skills. Very much appreciated, and thank you for all the work that you do with our young people as well. As for you guys, thank you so much for watching again, and I will see you in episode number 4.